your YouTube up there? Who was there first on YouTube?
Who's
Who
here
said
first?
Venezuela, now Fox News. Somebody said that. Welcome to the Catholic Answers Live Super Show. It's the show we do before the show. And John Sorensen here in studio with us. That's John Sorensen right there.
Smeddrano,
Who's
1964.
here first? Venezuela. Smeddrano, 1964. Thank you very much for being here first. Do we? There's John. Say hi to John.
Hello.
John does not realize that he's on a show. Also with us, Emily Torres, superstar Emily Torres. Hey, Emily, thanks for doing this with us again.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
I was a little scared you were going to skip out on us a few minutes ago because you were in a meeting. And we can't have you skip out because we based the whole show on you today because I want to get the inside story of your recent appearance on Fox News. So you represented the Catholic young adults of the earth, and you did a very fine job. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So how did this all come about?
Yeah. So they had my contact information for a while, I guess, because they had reached out to me months ago and had asked me to do the same thing, which is we want to do a segment on young adults converting to the church. We found your social media. Would you like to come on? And it was it was last second. It was like 2 days before or something. And I can't remember exactly when it was. I just know I was traveling and I would have to potentially log in at the airport. And I was like, I can't do that. This is too complicated. But I found a way that I was like, okay, yeah, I can make it work. I'll be there remotely. And then they last second canceled on me the day before. And they were like, sorry, we decided to go in different directions with the segment. So I was totally fair, totally fine, and just kind of moved on. But then they reached out to me again, very last minute, on a Friday night. And they were like, we're running a segment Sunday morning. Could you come anytime between 6 in the morning to 10 in the morning? And I was like, okay, I can do, they have a studio where I'm based in Charlotte, so you can just go in person, and they have a green screen room and stuff like that. It's pretty crazy, but I said I can go in person. I could go between 8 and 10 in the morning because no way am I going into our downtown, which we call uptown here because we're so different and quirky. But I'm not going to uptown Charlotte at 6 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning.
This
That's
is your
insane.
first appearance on national TV, and you're already a diva, basically, is what you're saying. You're like, I'm not doing that. I'm not having my driver bring me into the city. Are you kidding me? All right, so this is not.
I'm a young lady. I have to take precaution. And when I got there, I realized, thank goodness I didn't show up here in the dark because it was sketchy. It was a building.
Oh, that's what it was. Oh,
in the middle of.
I thought it was traffic you were avoiding. You were avoiding
No.
being in the city in the dark. I gotcha. Okay,
yes,
so you're not
yes,
a diva.
Yes. No, I'm not. Well, I am a diva, but not for that.
Okay.
But yeah, so it was in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it was somewhere, but it was the building just kind of looked like a house, or it was 2 stories and it was brick, and they had I think it was just a space where any company could rent out a room from them. And so I pull up and there's a security camera with my face, and it's reading my face, and it was very
At any point did you feel that you were being abducted? Did it occur to you that possibly this was an abduction? That you had driven yourself to your own abduction?
Yeah, that did cross my mind. I was like, this is sketch. This is really sketchy.
Yeah, okay.
But I eventually found out how to ring the doorbell because there was an actual doorbell, but you had to swipe on the security camera and
of course.
It was
sure.
Of course.
Why just have a doorbell?
I mean, maybe
it's Fox News. You're gonna swoop.
So
yeah.
So they open the door and it's just one older man running this whole thing. And there's a bunch of monitors everywhere, and they have a cute little waiting room with coffee and refreshments and snacks and stuff like that. And they have Fox News going. But I guess this building also had CNN. He also did production for CNN. So Fox News and CNN, same building.
Weird.
Which I would not have anticipated at all. And so he shows me the little room, and it's like it's pretty small, smaller than your guys' studio. It's just like a chair with a green screen in the background and a like news looking camera just like aimed right at you. And he was running through all the different protocols, and he was really funny, really nice, and he was telling me about all the previous guests that had been there. And to be quite frank, I don't watch the news. Maybe it's because I haven't hit that age
So
yet,
he's impressing you with a bunch of people, and you're like, oh, yeah, really?
I'm pretending
Really?
like I know them.
Yeah, good for you. Yeah.
He's like this. He's like dropping names, and I'm trying to remember them so I could tell my fiance later, because he watches. He's really into politics and stuff. So I'm like, I'll just bring it up to him and see what his reaction is.
Have you ever heard of someone named Hannity? There was a guy named Hannity. I guess I was supposed to be impressed with that, but.
You know, some guy named Barack Obama was there. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah. So I don't know, to like the head of the FBI or something, one of the ex-head of the FBI, he was just telling me all these different things about them, and how one of them would like crumple the paper as they spoke because they would fidget and they were nervous. One of them would memorize their full spiel beforehand and things like that. Yeah, exactly. Just like that. Not noticeable.
I'm sorry, what were you
all.
saying, Emily?
Yeah, so he was like, you have to stay still. You have to keep your eyes into this camera and don't look away, don't stutter, and you have a little earpiece in that's hidden, and you can't see anybody that's talking to you, and so you have to listen very carefully to ensure they're actually speaking to you and not somebody else. And the sound quality, I will say the sound quality of that earpiece was really bad, surprisingly bad. So I was nervous. I was like, what if I don't even understand what they're saying correctly? And it's the news, so I can't be like, what was that? Could you repeat that? So I was terrified, but also I was like, I can't be scared because that's not going to help me. It's going to inhibit me in this moment.
See, that's why you're young, but you're so successful. And I think that's why most of us can't say to ourselves, I'm scared, but just ignore it. We crumble. And that's a great quality, because you didn't look. I watched the segment on Fox, and you didn't look like you were crumbling at all. You didn't look like you were having a hard time. You didn't look like your earpiece was uncomfortable, or you were alone with a weird old man in a brick building, or none of that stuff. I added the word weird. I apologize. I shouldn't have done that.
That guy's probably somewhere crying.
But I know Sean Hannity. Okay, so they reach out to you because you're this popular YouTube presence who talks about her own conversion to the faith. They want to talk about the conversion to the faith. They get you into some weird building, half CNN, half Fox News, which actually sounds like the weirdest building.
Yes.
And so now you just sit there and wait till a red light comes on, or what? What happens?
Yeah, you just sit around until they are like, okay, they figure out exactly when your segment is. So he comes in, he's like, okay, 8:24, you're going to be on. And so
is there
I'm
a
like,
clock?
okay, so there is. And the clock was wrong too. So
it's like our
I'm like,
studio.
great.
Thankfully. It's like working here. Oh my God.
I guess that's just a common thing with people who have to be on
Why
time.
can no studio clocks be correct? It seems like one of the most basic things. Like right now, do you see what time that says right there? That says... Whatever even is that?
I don't know. 13:58.
1:58. It said 1:58. It's not 1:58 right now. All right, go ahead, Emily.
Bad.
So you're sitting there. They say you're going to be on 8:24, but you have to guess when that is because they have a bad clock. And
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So then he says, "All right, 5 minutes till. I'm going to get you back in the seat," and just basically he put like a white little square right above the camera. So he's like, some people are intimidated looking straight into a camera lens. Stare at the white square if you want. And I'll motion with with my hand when she's talking to you, or probably when you're on air, because you can't see yourself. So I have no idea if the camera's on me. I have no idea like when they're putting my face on the screen. So I'm just like sitting there the whole time, like smiling just in case I'm on air. So I look kind of stupid in some points because I'm just like, because I'm like, I don't know how to look if it's on me. I don't want to be like looking to the side or something.
Yeah.
So Yeah, so then it goes live, and I'm like, all right, here it comes, and I'm just like trying to tell myself like be really still because I'm not a very still person naturally, and also to make direct eye contact the entire time because I also don't do that naturally.
All this weird
And
stuff is going on. You look so normal. Like you,
I
like,
cannot. It was truly like a Holy Spirit moment. I was just praying, and I was like, help me, God, because like if I fumble on national television, that is so embarrassing.
well, we would have
Like, I
fired you
can't-
definitely, John. We wouldn't have
Exactly.
kept her around, would
No,
we? If she had blown it on
would-
national TV.
We probably would have made her like put her on latrine duty for a
Janitor.
little while. Yeah.
Man, yeah. So basically everything was on the line for you.
My life was at stake. No, I'm just
Yeah, yeah. So did it feel like
Yeah.
it was over so fast? People always tell me it felt so fast.
It was fast. It was fast. I mean, it was also pretty short, and they had someone else on, so I wasn't the only one that was talking. But it flew by, and I also didn't know like what exactly she was going to ask me. I knew they had said something about we want to have a segment about why are younger people converting. So I figured they might ask me why I converted and also why I think young people are converting.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know for sure. So I just kind of thought of some things and just kind of put them in my mind, like tried to memorize them a little bit. But honestly, the most basic question that she first asked me, which was, why did I convert to the Catholic Church? I was like, I didn't have a response memorized for that because I felt like I didn't need to, but also I didn't know. This is again exposing me, and maybe my lack of preparing, or also just the fact that like I don't watch the news. But like I've never once watched Fox and Friends in my life. I didn't even know the name of the lady I was talking to, and so I'm asking my fiance like, who is this lady? Is she actually like religious? Because I don't know if I need to like. If I can like say what I'm actually thinking, or if I need to like rein it in. Like, so when she asked me why I became Catholic, I didn't know if she was Catholic. So I didn't want to start going on this spiel about the church fathers and how Protestantism is false if she's like a Protestant.
Oh,
because
come
then it
on,
feels
go,
like I'm
go
preaching-
right into Protestantism
Right?
is false. That's what you do on national TV. I don't know what the question was, but Protestantism is false.
Yeah.
No, exactly. So I didn't know what to do.
Okay.
And so I did my best. I was like, okay, if she isn't Catholic, this isn't going to offend her or like offend everybody watching who's not Catholic potentially. So I just said what I said, and then she responded with, and so many people, you hear so many stories of people reading the church fathers, and I was like smiling so hard at that point because I'm like, oh my, she has to be Catholic if she's talking about the church fathers. Like, no way. So then I realized, okay, all is good. And then she played a clip from Pope Leo, which again, I had no idea she was playing that clip. So I was really afraid she's going to be like, what are your thoughts on that, Emily?
Could you
and
hear
I was
it?
like,
Could you hear the clip? Okay.
I
Okay.
could hear it. But I had no idea she was even going to bring up the Pope. So I was like, oh great. What's in for me for this? But it was all great. And I was really thankful for how it turned out because I was like, I didn't even know how many people watched Fox and Friends. Like, I went to mass later that day and the deacon at my parish was like, I haven't seen you since earlier this morning on my TV. And I was like, oh, you saw it? And he was like, yeah, I saw it. And I was like, oh, okay. I had no idea.
How much of that did you get? I mean, did you get a lot of that? Like
no, I mean, not really. I had a few. I mean, it's older. Definitely there's a particular subset of individuals that reached out to me who just were naturally watching Fox and Friends, and they were likely past the age of 50 to 60 years old. But yeah, I mean, it was only a few people who had reached out because they had just like seen me and it was totally accidental.
Well, how did they respond on air when you mentioned Catholic Answers and that you work here and the work we do here? What kind of response did you get to that?
They were like, all right, cut
Don't
the
lie.
camera immediately.
Don't-
We're getting her
don't
off
lie.
air.
Don't lie. I watched it, and there was zero mention of Catholic Answers. Zero. I was like,
should have worn
I
my
turned that on, and I
Psychedelic
thought,
shirt.
I'm going to be a star now. Emily's going to mention me. And there was nothing. Crickets about Catholic Answers.
Yes, I didn't feel like there was any question I could have
No, there
mentioned you
wasn't.
guys.
There wasn't.
Also, I could not have mentioned you guys on air on national television. Like, just nonchalantly, and then be like, "Hey guys, by the way, I just shouted you out on Fox News." That would be a ticket. That would be a ticket to my job being bye-bye. So
what'd you learn as a communicator? What'd you learn? What'd you take away? Go, next time I'm going to have this in my pocket.
Honestly, I mean, I guess I would. What I took away from it was, I guess, that I'm more capable than I realize. I'm a
Good
type of
for
person
you.
that I learn from experience, and so I can like think I know something all I want, but until I'm actually in the midst of it and I go through it, then I realize, okay, yeah, that's actually how that is. So after going through that, I realized, oh, I'm very capable of looking very professional and articulating myself very well, and yeah, so that was really a great takeaway. But besides that, I mean, I don't know. It was strange. The building was strange. I didn't realize they were filming national TV stuff in like a random building in my city that, looks suspicious. Like seriously, the windows were boarded up with like wood. And so I thought, I'm going into an abandoned building.
Wait,
and
you
yeah,
went in though. Just think about
I
that. Like you
know.
went into that building.
It looked like a Minnesota daycare.
It probably did. Yes.
Sorry, I had to throw that one out there.
Are you from Minnesota?
I'm sorry. No, you don't watch the news, so you don't know what that was about. But that was a reference to
I don't.
a current news story. Maybe a little news, Emily. Maybe throw a little news in. Actually, I don't want to say that because you're so well formed as a young person who just came to the faith. I wouldn't want you to be malformed by watching a lot of the news, but maybe just later, just Google Minnesota daycare and see what comes up.
Okay.
See if anything.
Well, even like when the thing just happened with the Venezuelan president, I didn't know. And someone brought it up and they were like, "Did you like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Like he's in New York." And I was like, what? And she's like, "Yeah, like you didn't hear what happened?" I was like, "No. What are you talking about?"
Do you watch any TV or is it just is it news?
I don't have cable, so I never watch live TV.
Uh-huh.
And so I also, if I'm reading something online, I mean, typically if I'm reading news, it's like Catholic related news about the Pope or something, or the church. It's not about what's happening in America. And that's bad on my part. I need to actually motivate myself to do that. But honestly, I've come to the point where I'm like, I have too many family members that have been consumed by the news, and all they watch is Fox or CNN, and all they think about and post about on Facebook is some stuff that's going on. And I think I've responded to that by being like, I'm just going to keep my peace, and you guys can keep doing what you're doing, but you seem to not be very happy. So
I think you're wise. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think she's wise. I love Emily. She's great.
I know you love Emily.
Thanks,
She's
John.
great. She came this close to getting fired, but I mean,
No.
like some people be like, you're a citizen. You need to watch the news. You need to know what's going on in your country.
Oh, I don't know. I'll be honest with you guys. I don't really like. I try to watch the news just enough to be slightly, I guess, informed
Annoyed?
enough,
So informed.
slightly
I'm sorry.
irritated.
Sorry, that's what I say. Annoyed.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it robs me of peace a lot of times.
It does.
So I watch.
Yeah.
I feel like I watch. There's a couple of subjects that I'm really interested in. I probably follow that more than other things, but for the most part, I feel like you just get into this like doom loop if you watch too much news.
Yes.
Or you find yourself just kind of blindly following whatever your favorite news station tells you. I used to do that a lot. Like I would watch, Fox News. I used to watch that all the time. And then I found myself like I'd get in conversations with people at work and I'm just parroting stuff that they were saying on the TV. I'm like, I didn't come up with this. This is not my own thought. This is like Sean Hannity's thought. And no offense to him, but like I just want the facts. I'm perfectly capable of making up my own mind on these things. But when you when you're consumed by it and you follow it all the time, and especially if you're only getting news from one perspective, then you're going to just kind of off in that direction.
I feel like in some ways, if you really want to be in contact with the real world, with reality, you have to not watch the news because the news is not reality. That's not the real
True.
world. That is an edited and videoed and from a particular angle, and highly curated, as people like to say now, version of what somebody wants you to think reality is. That's not reality. I'm not even saying that like they're all liars or something. I don't believe that they're all liars. I believe what you get is a tremendous distortion of reality on the television. And if you want to be in touch with
Yeah.
reality, stop watching it. You got to get away from it. It is ultimately distorting. And plus, one thing that I discovered, I don't know about when the internet started. When did the internet start? Like 1960s, 70s? I don't know. I can't remember when we first. Is you can read in 4 minutes everything they will cover on the evening news in a
Yeah.
half hour.
Yeah.
Like it's just a show. You're watching a show. You're not getting a lot of information. You're just watching a show so that they can present the information in a way that, I don't know, is entertaining or something. But it's basically 4 minutes of reading and you're fully informed on everything you would have gotten from a half-hour news show.
Yeah.
And less than that on the hour shows that are just people's opinions, where they go, fight. And then,
That's like most of it now, though.
Yeah.
It's all that.
Yeah,
it's,
it's
all,
mostly
it's like
opinion,
it's
yeah.
like analysis, opinion, and if you're spending a lot of time on that, then it's going to creep into your thought process. You know what I mean? If you
Yeah.
keep hearing the same talking points reiterated over and over again, it's like just give me the facts and let me make up my own mind on it.
Yeah.
I prefer that, but it's harder and harder to find that because everybody does opinion stuff now.
Right. Everything is so
Yeah.
tainted by opinion that I even feel like the AIs can't get away from it because they're learning from the news. The news is mostly opinion. And so you get a bunch of stuff in the AI. Now, it might be that that Sam Altman is sitting there typing in the computer like, be biased in this way. But even if Sam Altman's not doing that,
Yeah.
the bias is there because it's the fantasy of all this opinion news that becomes reality for the AI, I feel like.
Yeah.
I think it's great that you did what you did, though, Emily. And I think that more, we should be open to doing these things. We've got to be in a secular place. Like, did you have a goal in mind when you went in there? Did you have I guess part of why I'm asking you this is that I think a lot of times like marketing professionals that will prep you to go on TV, they will say, have your main point that you want to make. And then no matter what the question is, make that point, and that, so people go in with a plan. And I wonder, did you have a plan or did you just, were you winging it or how'd you go about that?
Yeah, I think it was a mix. And I think that's partly just who I am is like, I prepare the best I can, but I also try to keep in mind that sometimes things don't go the way that I anticipate. So the main point that I was memorizing and I wanted to talk about was really about why I think so many young people are converting. And that's just because of kind of what I mentioned in the clip, which is, we thought that we were told that religion is oppressing us, it's enslaving us, it's holding us back. And if only we remove the shackles of religion and escape from that oppression, then we'll be truly free, we'll be truly happy. And we've just seen how that's played out. And what we found is, there's people are on average more likely to be depressed, more likely to commit suicide, more likely to be addicted to drugs, higher rates of anxiety, lower rates of marriage. And we know that people who are married tend to live happier lives and honest and more healthy lives as well. And so we've just kind of realized that was wrong. And so I think young people are waking up to that and want something to change. And so they're coming to religion. So that was kind of the main point I wanted to make. That's what I want people. And honestly, that point that I kind of mentioned, it was something that my spiritual director, I invited him over for dinner one night. My fiance and I cooked dinner for him and we were talking about this and he had kind of mentioned that point. So I kind of attribute it to him. But it's just like, we thought this would work out. We thought that religion was not needed to live a successful, happy life. And that's just clearly not true. And that's the point I especially want people to hear. I would say people watching Fox and Friends, at least now I know a lot of them are probably religious watching it. But if they weren't, hopefully that's something they can think about is this life that they were promised by not being religious, did that actually come true? Is that actually fulfilling? Or has it kind of been shallow? So...
That's a beautiful message. And do you think that young people are actually waking up to that a little bit, that this was a snow job, that this was a bit of a con, this idea that all of this liberation from the old things, among them religion, was going to make everything better. And you can't liberate yourself. Well, I'll go back to that word I used before, but you can't liberate yourself from reality. You try, and you're in big trouble. And God is the source of all of reality. So good luck if you're going to be liberated from that.
Yeah. No, I do. And I think especially now that kind of the new atheist movement is fading away, Sam Harris and Dawkins and things like that, people like that. People have woken up and realized, thanks to shows like us, and, Trent Horn and our apologists, they're realizing religion is a lot smarter than these new atheists portrayed it to be. Mm-hmm. And so there's actually good reason to be religious, and these shallow arguments of like, well, if God caused everything, who caused God? It's like, okay, give me a break. That's
We've never
ridiculous.
heard that one before.
Yeah, right. You are the first person that thought of that.
It's so ridiculous. And so they're realizing, Christians actually have good responses to these arguments. Yeah. So I think they're waking up to that. And then even just in a lifestyle sense, I've seen a lot more women kind of openly talking about this lie that they were fed about how, go into the workforce and your life will be easier and you'll feel so much more free. And it's like, now they're devastated because they're leaving they're having to go back to their job after 6 weeks and leave their baby with a stranger all day. And they're devastated about that. But now the economy is kind of shaped around this idea that both parents are working. So they can't just have, their husband working or.
Yeah, they got ripped off.
They can't. Exactly. So I think they're waking up to that. Honestly, I'll be curious to see how in like 30 years this will play out, because even more so, there are a lot of women coming out who are in their 50s and 60s. It's been trending online this past week or two, where they're saying, don't ever get married. Don't ever have kids. Don't do it. It doesn't matter how good that man you found is. Don't do it. And the comments are flooded with people saying the same thing. And they're like, I'm married and have kids. My husband, I've been married to him for 20 years. He's a great man. She's right. Don't get married. And I'm like, okay, first of all,
wait, what?
Let's hope your children or your husband don't have social media and don't see this, because that's horrible. But second of all, like, honestly, why are you blaming marriage? The problem is you, probably. Like, let's be honest. Like, marriage is, a 2-person commitment.
Yeah.
So, let's stop pretending.
Almost anything can be a trend in a certain sense, though, because, like, say, out of the millions of women in the United States, there's 10,000 women that feel that way. I'm married, and the guy's great, and that could look like a lot of people online, but it's not in relative terms. That's not a lot of people, or in absolute terms, that's not a lot of people at all.
How much of that, just real quick, Emily, how much of that do you think is like the grass is greener on the other side? Because I also see a lot of videos of women in the same age group who never got married and had kids at all, and they totally regret it, and they say the exact opposite.
No, I agree. I totally think it's the grass is greener on the other side. I think, though, that there's younger women, like in my group, who are falling for that lie, though, of these older women, because now that they have their own jobs and career paths, and they're told, like, once you hit milestones in your career and whatnot, that's what's going to make your life fulfilling, and go travel and go do these things. So I am curious. I think we will probably see an uptick of women who just choose to not get married. We've already seen marriage rates declining, but I think it's going to become more trendy, more common to see women who go until their 30s and 40s and don't ever get married. And maybe by the time they think, oh, maybe I should have gotten married, they're 50, and it's like, the pool's small for you now. So, I'm curious to see that play out. But again, I think we're just going to see what we've already seen, which is a big failure. Like, it's not going to make these individuals happy. And when their friends all have grandkids and they have a community and they have their own life going and they have nobody, I can't imagine how isolating and lonely that feels.
Well, that's why we're going to have robots.
Exactly.
The robots are coming for that reason. As a matter of fact, in Japan, there is actually quite open conversation, because, the Japanese are not having any children.
Yeah.
Or they're having very few children. And so there's this sense that they need to develop robots to take care of old people, because there's not going to be anybody to take care of old people.
Wow.
But I don't think that's going to work.
Can you imagine being like super old and you're on your deathbed and the only stuff around you is a bunch of goofy robots? I'd be so mad. I'm like, I spent all this time on this planet and this is how I go out? Robots?
That is kind of, yeah. Now that when you say it
that's
that way,
depressing.
it's horrifying to
Yes.
think of it that way. It's like just being in a room with machines.
It's like, just take me
you-
now. Like no human, like, or very little human contact, and I'm being taken
Right.
care of by robots. It's like, I'm done.
They have like robot.
Where's
like,
my ice flow? Yeah, go ahead.
They have like robot dogs for that very reason, or like robot pets that are for individuals that don't have people to caretake for them, and so they're just to like keep them company or like keep them from being super lonely. But I think that we this was a topic of discussion in one of my classes in college, is like, you know, is that really a good thing though? Like Granny's lonely because none of her family goes and sees her. Let's get her a
No.
robot dog to
Yeah.
cheer her up.
Right.
Like that's sad. That's horrible.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, unfortunately, a lot of grannies are lonely now, not because they didn't have the kids or the grandkids, but because some psychologist told the grandkids that she's a toxic person and you got to stay away from that toxic person. I think that families have been devastated by some of this. Cut out these toxic people from your life. We used to call toxic people grandparents. Like that's what they that's just like the reason that they look toxic to you is they're way older than you. Their life experience is completely different than yours. Settle down. Like
I need to interject as a fellow the young person in this panel right now.
as a ute. All right, go ahead.
As a ute. I think old people use their oldness as an excuse to be mean, to be grumpy and mean.
Yes.
They can be so grumpy and mean, and they're like, it's because I'm old and my patience is worn thin.
Shut up,
I'm
Emily.
like,
Yeah.
okay.
Just shut up.
This excuse works for us. Don't blow our cover,
Nobody
please.
cares what you say. What a stupid theory that is.
You.
Yeah, that's probably true. Actually, the thing is, I don't think it's possible as a young person. Now, at approaching 62 years old, I don't think it's possible for a young person to realize how much your capacities diminish as you age. Like my kids will show me stuff and go, "What do you look at this? What do you think?" And they're showing it on my phone. I go, "I can't see that." "No, just look at this." I'll be like, "I can't see it."
Yeah.
And now I am a mean old man. I cannot see the thing. They don't believe me. They're like, "No, just look at this part." I'm like, "It doesn't matter what part you point to. I can barely see the phone."
Yeah.
All right. Is it on? Like, I don't even know. Is that the front or the back of the phone? So I think that...
I'm so glad I'm not alone, man. You could ask my wife; she's sitting in the control room. But man, when I have to read the directions on something for like food, how to prepare it or whatever, and it's like this microscopic print, and I'm just getting so frustrated because 5 years ago I could see it just fine, and now I'm like, oh, what is this? I need a magnifying glass.
The worst, Emily, was COVID. For older people, COVID was the worst. And I had this experience because we cannot hear what you are saying. I don't know what you young people are mumbling. So then you all put masks on. I'd be like, you go up to order. I'd like a burger and fries and a Coke. I don't know what you're saying. I just was afraid during COVID. Like, I don't know what anybody's saying. I'm going home. That's how I felt. All right. But speaking of death,
Let's do it.
is it all right if we move on, Emily, or you want to tell us any more about your new employer, Fox News?
I was just going to...
You want to talk about death now, Emily?
I'm sorry old people are mean to
you. Let's move on to death.
Yeah. All right. Let me just ask you this. Fox News death or Fox News death? Are we moving up or down here on this?
We're moving up.
We're
moving up.
Oh, death is an improvement over Fox
It's
News.
very...
Come on
yes.
now.
Let's talk about death.
All right.
It's important.
Because a famous person is dying and is doing so quite publicly. And I want to read you a little article that the great Catherine Jean Lopez has on the National Review website. And I like Catherine. You know Catherine Jean Lopez? Do either of you know Catherine Jean Lopez? She's a lovely,
I don't know her.
writer.
I don't know her personally, but have spoken to her online before.
Oh, you have? Mm-hmm. And was she mean to you?
No,
because she's not old. That's why she's not old yet. Old people are mean.
she was nice.
Yeah, I think she's a very helpful person. Now I can't. Where's my article I was going to read? All right, you guys talk among yourselves for a minute. This will be top-notch professional.
We have to try and figure out who the Emily. I was on. Did you know Chris and I got interviewed on CNN For
No.
yeah, it was during the whole Father Justin thing.
Oh yeah, CNN came here one time.
No
before you
way.
got here.
They came here and interviewed us about it. They're like, "Who are these guys that made the robot priest or whatever?" And so they actually were. I felt like they were pretty fair to us. I know people have their opinions about that particular outlet.
They did a nice report, though.
Yeah,
I didn't
it
think
was
their
good.
report was bad.
No, they it was fair and it was pretty straightforward. They just asked us about our thoughts on AI and our response to the backlash that we got. And it's like, well, you live and learn. You try new things. You jump in there, see what happens. Some projects are great. Some of them get you doxxed, but whatever, you move on.
I was an outsider at this point when this happened. And so I remember hearing it from the Catholic circles and seeing people get mad. I never understood why it was making people so upset. I never understood that.
I think it's just, it's new technology. And I mean, there's legit reasons to be skeptical of it. Or we were too, but it's like you've got this emerging technology. And the thing about Catholic Answers is we've always been, for as long as I've been here, something new comes out, we figure out a way to jump in there,
Yeah.
And if that's where people are going to be, or if that's where the zeitgeist is moving, we want to be there and telling people about Jesus.
All right, when John uses the word zeitgeist, we got to move on. That's a signal that we have reached the end.
The end of the world as we know it.
Okay, what? All right, this is Catherine Jean Lopez. I'm going to read a little bit of what she wrote, okay? Quiet now and pray for the man behind Dilbert. That's the headline. Catherine Jean Lopez yesterday in National Review. I've been watching the madness on social media. Okay, yes, that could apply to a broad range of topics, but this is no mere topic. It is a man in his suffering being vulnerable about his life, death, and eternal soul. I'm a dork, so I've always loved the Dilbert comic strip. I'm pretty sure I had one in an early National Review office. As you may know by now, its creator, Scott Adams, has an incurable form of cancer. Adams believes this may be his last month on Earth. Every day, Adams goes live to talk about his pain. This weekend, I'm skipping ahead a little bit. This weekend, Adams announced that he's going to become Christian. He previously described himself as agnostic. Atheism was for people more certain than he was on eternal things. He put his new decision in wager terms. He may not be completely convinced, but it's no loss if he's wrong. Of course, here is where the social media madness comes in. And what Catherine Jean Lopez recommends is we be more listening to Scott Adams and not trying to just make podcasts and write articles about what he has to say. But I don't think Catherine Jean Lopez knows how the world works. We got to talk about things. That's so.
She probably doesn't mind us
nice
talking
try,
about it.
Catherine Jean, but we're making a podcast and we're talking about this.
And we're talking about her article. She probably likes that.
Yeah, right. So I was struck by this because of the wager part of it. Pascal's wager is essentially what he's doing.
Yeah.
And we have our own apologists have argued that in certain circumstances, there are philosophers who say Pascal's wager doesn't actually make any sense. But I think our guys have argued quite convincingly it does make sense in certain situations. It cannot be applied universally to everyone's religious problems or questions, but it does have certain applications. And Scott Adams seems to have found one of those. When you're dying, what's wrong with becoming a Christian? Because essentially Pascal's wager works this way. If you don't, then if you don't become a Christian and Christianity is true, then you're cooked, so to speak. If you do become a Christian and Christianity is true, you get an eternal reward. And if Christianity is not true, you don't actually lose anything. What have you lost? So that's Pascal's wager. And it does work best when you are approaching death, as Scott Adams is. I don't know, either of you, I won't just keep talking. I'll open it up to your thoughts.
I'll let Emily go first.
Zeitgeist.
Yeah, I think in some sense, death is something that allows us to really face ourselves and face these big questions that maybe we put off for a while. And I think there is something to be said of why human beings fear death. Why is he jumping to religion? Probably because he's fearing what's going to happen after he dies and even during the process of dying itself. And I think the fact that human beings resist death, we're scared of death, is fascinating, considering if the atheist perspective is true, that we're just one of many animals, that randomly spawned and evolved over, millions and billions of years. And none of that had any purpose behind it. None of that had any direction behind it. Then death is a very natural thing that all species endure. And so why do we resist death so much if it's something that, is so natural that everything around us dies? Why are we so scared of it?
Yeah.
And I think that says something to us in like who we are as human beings, which is we have something that goes beyond just a physical body. We have something eternal in us that is kind of reaching toward, like, that is resisting death because we know that's not meant for us. So I would say, I think I think some people are going to have the reaction of like, this is bad, this is dumb, he's abusing Christianity, he's using it. But I think in general, him being a witness to death is uncomfortable, death is scary, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I should try this out. I think in itself, that whole journey is just a testament of how human beings seek something beyond us, and we seek not death, we seek life, and we find that really in the teachings of the church. So those are my thoughts.
The thing that you put me in the mind of is an essential thing to remember about death, our death, is that it's a punishment. It is not natural. It's not what we are supposed to have. It's a punishment.
Yeah.
Death enters as a consequence of sin. And so we know that. We know this is like I think there's a haunting realization in us. This is not supposed to happen. This is not what my destiny was supposed to be. This death is a sign that the entire human race is under divine punishment and has to face that punishment. And it's now that doesn't mean God has redeemed it in having died and risen himself and having overcome death. So we know death is overcome, but that doesn't mean the reality of death isn't what it always was, which is a punishment as a consequence of sin. You're right, though. I think it's terrifying on a natural level because we don't want to stop being us. Like there's just the fact of being there's something pleasant in being.
Yeah, death's gonna cramp my style, bro.
It's really gonna cramp my style, bro. Where does that come from? Did you just make that up?
Yeah, I think so.
That's awesome.
Channeling my inner
Spicoli.
Yeah.
Death's gonna cramp my style. Yeah.
I have a thought on that. Well, I mean, as it concerns Scott Adams, I mean, some of his controversies aside, he. The fact that what you said at the beginning about him being agnostic rather than a straight up atheist, he's like, I'm not sure enough to be a full on atheist. And it reminds me of, I heard a priest one time say, God's mercy is infinitely greater than our wickedness. And I think about like Romans 2, where Paul is talking about the Gentiles who do what the law requires because it's written on their hearts. So the best way to get to heaven is to obviously, become a Catholic and avail yourself of the sacraments, but there's still hope for people who are maybe not sure. And so Scott, he hasn't cut himself off from it, and even by accepting Pascal's wager, I don't know that the wager, I never really found it that convincing, although Jimmy did make it slightly more convincing to me. Jimmy Aiken did one time. I asked him about it and he went through it because I was totally against, I thought Pascal's wager was just kind of weak.
Well, it has a weakness to it, but there are situations in which it does actually work.
Absolutely. But I think the fact that he didn't cut himself off totally from the possibility is to me something hopeful.
I know. Also, just this being willing to talk about it with people. I feel like we're kind of we're infected with bravado in a lot of our media, and so there's a lot of media is about being right and owning the other. Yeah. And this is not about either being right or owning the other. This is about sharing your your humanity with other people. So I'm not a huge fan of Dilbert, not because I don't like it. I just don't know it. I'm not very, very familiar with it. And I don't know Scott Adams very well. But this manner of speaking seems to me like, oh my gosh, we'd all be so much better off if people would just speak like this. If people would just, if we didn't have to have this, I don't know, it's like a learned bravado where you got to have your take. You got to defend your take. And Scott Adams, at least from what the reading that you gave me to read today, has had some takes. I mean, it's not like he was not a guy with takes.
Yeah.
But he, at this vulnerable moment, is willing to be vulnerable. I think that's really impressive.
Yeah, well, and open to the possibility. I mean, he's accepting the wager, but he's still being honest about not being sure, and but he never closed himself off. I just think that's I don't know, that screams hope to me, but I don't know. I don't know the mind of God, only what He's revealed to us. So.
Do you know the mind of God, Emily? You've been on Fox News, so I don't know.
Yeah. Did you touch Sean Hannity's cloak?
Do you?
I don't even know who that is.
Oh, okay, good.
God?
No.
Oh, Sean Hannity. All right. Well, the other side of this, however, is the tragedy of not knowing the person of Jesus, and I'm not. I don't mean that in terms of criticizing Scott Adams. I don't know his journey. I don't know his.
He definitely missed out on something in life, though.
But that is something to miss out on. That is really something to miss out on. Yeah. And it doesn't seem that he's turning to Christianity as a believer, but as someone who is saying, I won't resist it if it's true, and. I don't know, my theology is not very strong, but I think if you don't resist it, God will save you.
At the very least, the chances look pretty good. I mean, if you look at the text of Romans chapter 2, I think it's like 14-16 or something like that. I could be wrong, but it's around there. It's definitely in chapter 2, but that just seems to open the door for the possibility. I mean, I wouldn't hang my hat on it, but it's hopeful. It's a hopeful, for somebody like him, he never cut himself off from it. He just said, I don't know.
Right. And he apparently didn't ever harden his heart. That's the thing, is you worry about people who be like, even on my deathbed, like they become so hardened about, I'll never fall for that. It's not some kind of, I do think that the new atheists, they kind of evince that idea. They were out there with, I'll never fall for this scam. It's not a scam. A scam would be like, we're trying to take something from you.
Yeah.
Like, we're not, it's not a scam.
Like Mormonism.
It's, show's over. Gotta go. Thank you,
I don't
Emily.
feel so bad about my daycare comment now.
But I love the fact that I was the least controversial person today. I didn't pick on the state of Minnesota or the Latter-day Saints, and you two did.
I know, right?
There are religions that are scams, without question. There are religions that are scams. Yeah, but I mean, if you look at Christianity and you go, that the whole thing is a scam, I mean, really?
Who's profiting from the scam?
St. Francis,
that's my question.
Crazy old St. Francis. Like that dude was all about getting or they would say, well, he is getting something. He's getting some ego satisfaction or something, and that's what he really I don't know. I guess there's a certain point at which it's just not an argument. It's just a persistent disposition against something that you can't break through that. You can't get under that. Like, even the good person is only good because evolution made them crave, I don't know, whatever evolution makes them crave. So, once there's a certain point at which, okay, that's a really nice story, and you keep coming up with another story, but it's just a story. It's not the real world. It's just a story that you keep. Yeah. And if you're committed to the story, I can't do anything for you. I can't help you with that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe I can help you with that.
How? Like, maybe?
No, I'm kidding.
Start a apologetics.
Start an apologetics organization.
Well, one thing I have learned here over 9 years of doing this, and then some years before that in Catholic media, is I think when I was young, I thought it's hopeless in a certain sense. You just got to try to be a good person, and people will figure. God will have to get them. People will figure, because you can't argue through. And I think I tend towards the hopelessness in that regard. And I remember sitting here in this studio with Tim Staples one day where he just did a beautiful job of showing the faith to someone, and I was like, oh yeah, that actually worked. Like the person was like, started out this way, ended up this way. And I'm not saying grace is not playing I'm not denying all of that. But actually speaking about Jesus, the faith, and all that, it really can make a difference in other people's lives. It really can. You can do something.
One thing I do, going back a little bit to Pascal's wager, I kind of waffle on that one. It's not the strongest argument. And I don't know, probably I wouldn't pull it out unless in specific instances, like to use that. But there is something of a beauty to it. This idea that because it's not just the benefit of what happens after you die. There's the benefit of things that happen in life. And I tell people this all the time. Like my life did a whole 180 when I came back to the Catholic. I'm a revert. So when I came back to the Catholic faith, my life improved in so many ways. So it's not just for, I'm at the end of my days, and what the heck, I may as well,
Right. That's because I don't think you would trade, and I would guess you, Emily, or anybody in this studio would trade a life walking with Jesus for any other. There's not, like, you could say, well, you could be as rich as Elon Musk, or you can walk with Jesus and have the kind of shabby used car life that you've had.
Yeah.
I take the shabby used car life every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
That's the thing I don't know that we communicate well enough. Jesus is really worth it. Like your life comes alive with him.
Yeah.
And that's why I do think that's the sadness I feel for the Pascal's wager thing and Scott Adams and the Pascal's wager is, but there's this other part that is it's so worth it. It's so worth it.
Yeah. Amen, brother.
Oh, I got an amen.
I agree.
It's
amen.
not quite an amen. Oh, okay. All right. There we go.
It's close though, isn't
it? I guess so. I think we got to go on this end, Emily. I don't want you to think that we feel bad that you didn't mention Catholic Answers even once when you were on Fox News. Did she just turn off her microphone? Is she leaving?
No.
She's going to shut her laptop.
I don't care about you, stupid.
It's my sister. I think she didn't realize that I was on here, so she was calling after my name.
Oh, okay.
But thank you. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, thanks for sharing the behind the scenes with us. It was fun. And John, I always love it when you're here.
I love coming on.
I love it when you're here.
This is great.
Yeah.
This was fun.
Can we have Jeff Cam or is Jeff Cam not working? We never went to Jeff Cam the whole... Can we have Jeff Cam before we go? And then
I don't know. Our video guy's on the phone right now.
Our video guy is on the phone, and we're asking for Jeff Cam. And his dad is standing right there next to him. This is going to come up over dinner tonight. I can tell you right now. Oh, now what we need is Johnny Cam right now. Can we turn that to be Johnny Cam? All right. God bless you all. We'll start the show in a few minutes. Emily, you're a superhero. We love having you around. John... Whatever.
I don't know. See you later, Emily. God bless you.
See you in a few minutes
God
for the show.
You guys.
You too. Bye.